Well, big season 7 hellos to all the Who crew out there. It's the season we thought might never happen, right, Alessondra?
Yeah, definitely. It did kind of come in as a surprise.
Well, it's an exciting evening for us to be able to hook up and tune in and tell everybody what's going on lately that maybe they can't see from the cameras, but also to give an opportunity for them to ask questions. So here we are, season 7, right?
Yeah.
We had a very short, abridged season 6 last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of cut short abruptly and
Definitely,
beyond our control. So what were your thoughts after processing that?
Last season?
Yeah.
Well, as in, like, last year? Yeah, well, last year, I mean, I was hoping there'd be a season, you know, and we had, like, a few sets of 2 eggs, and I was like, okay, cool, you know, this is happening, we're having another season, but, you know, she didn't sit on them, and she didn't incubate, so we ended up not having a season last year, but, I mean, we have one this year, so that's really all that matters now.
Yeah, true. So the big thing that I think many people figure contributed to why last season didn't happen is because we had that big ice storm.
Yeah.
And Altera was, I guess, into her second season of motherhood as far as we know.
Yeah.
And that ice storm hit, and it was on the side of the house that really took the brunt of it. And she bailed, and I don't think any of us humans, at least from our perspective, can fault her for that.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Especially as, like, a relatively new mother, you know, you have that ice storm.
So then here we've already had one ice storm this week. We have more weather coming in tonight, and it seems like she was unfazed by what happened earlier this week. So I don't know about you, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah, she's definitely shown a lot more maturity this year. She's, like everyone's noticed, she's been a lot more relaxed and chill, and, you know, with this ice storm that just hit us, she did fine. She didn't seem fazed at all.
So let's talk about the location of this nest versus the previous ones. So those of you who are joining us who may not have seen this, if you go to okcalcam.com, there is a menu where you can access various FAQs from previous seasons, and we've updated the season 7 FAQ, which includes a photo of the front of the house where all of the various nesting locations from season 1 up until current season 7 have taken place. And I think it's of interest because a lot of people ask us, well, what is it you guys do to attract these owls? And I would say that we've at least knowingly to ourselves, we've done nothing.
Yeah.
It just so happens that there's something about the house, the locale, the color, whatever it is that they've chosen routinely that they like.
Yeah. This season's nest is in a spot that we haven't had it before. It's around the corner from, you know, the previous, the most recent, like, nests, and like I said, she hasn't used this one before, but there is that chart on the website that kind of shows you, you know, this is where this year's nest is, and these are the previous nests.
So some of our fans from earliest season, or at least those who have kind of studied previous seasons, recognize this this cobalt blue urn, and many think that it's the original season 1 urn, and while it's identical to that pot, it's definitely not the same pot.
No.
So where you see this current nest is over what I'm going to call, for lack of a better term, sort of an entry tower.
Yeah.
It's an upstairs room. What you're seeing, you're right outside the window of an upstairs room, but underneath there is how you walk to our front door. And so you're looking at the south side of that tower, while there is a similar balcony with an identical urn and pots on the east side, which is the front of our house. And that is where season 1, which was, what was the name of that baby owl? Was it Tiger Lily?
Tiger Lily, yeah, that was a good season.
So Tiger Lily's where it all started, just a few feet from here. And this is the first time that they have nested
in the blue urn.
In the blue urn since season 1.
Yeah.
Even though this is a different one. And I think a lot of people observed that this is much tighter quarters.
It is.
At least from the pot. I mean, I'm or so.
Yeah.
She's probably dug out about 6 inches of that dirt, so she's well recessed in there. And then there's kind of a little concavity, like a little hole that she's burrowed and put those eggs down deep into. Contrast that to where they've nested for the last several years, which is a ledge, not a balcony.
Yes.
The ledge is much wider, but it's shallower and narrower, which does give them a lot of lateral room to, as the owlets grow and start to roam and get out of the pot, which is much later than what I think most people anticipate.
Yeah.
This one, we're going to have some unique challenges because there's not really a lot of room for them to roam around unless they hop out of that urn.
Right. Yeah.
So we have some considerations to make on how to rectify that, but we at least have several weeks to do it, right?
Right, definitely. You know, we have the more narrower, like, confined pot, and we do only have 2 owlets, right? But as they get bigger, they're going to be they're going to be kind of squished in there, especially when Altera's there. Yeah, so.
So to describe the balcony a little bit, there is a floor, and there's no way that if one of them should fall out of this urn that they're going to fall down onto the ground, because it's a mesh, a steel mesh at the bottom. The other thing too is that a lot of people don't realize how long it actually takes for these, once they hatch, it's weeks before they even start to remotely think about exploring beyond the couple square inches where they exist, right?
Yeah.
They don't really walk around, and it seems like they're rather, I don't want to say obedient, but they seem to stay put.
Definitely. You know, once they even get to the point where they're close to getting out of the urn or the pot, it's like they're big enough to where obviously they can't fall through the floor and they can't get through the bars that make up the walls around the balcony. So there is not a chance really of them falling out.
Exactly. So this little Q&A audio update thing that we came up with, right? So last season we started the Q&A live show from the studio, which is the warehouse at my office. We have a lot of fun with that.
2 seasons ago. Last season we started at Tiger Studio, and the season before was in here.
We did it in here. You're right. So last season we moved to the studio, which is fun. It's cool. We're going to continue that. The challenge this year is that obviously you're a busy girl. I mean, you're playing hockey.
Yeah.
You've got your classes and your academics. A lot of things going on. Your little sister's in gymnastics. We've got Xavier, who's quickly approaching 3.
Yeah.
So committing to a particular evening every night for a live show at another location.
Nearly impossible for the.
It's nearly impossible for us, but then we have to consider that we have, Steve Johnson, a good friend and longtime moderator, who helps us produce that show. So we have all of that to coordinate. So we figured, a lot of people really enjoy being able to ask us questions.
Yeah.
And hearing your voice, hearing you answer, hearing you talk about what's going on. So it's convenient and very easy for us to check in. I don't know that we're going to do it every night, but almost every night.
Yeah.
For 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever time allows.
Easy and convenient. Yeah,
we can
definitely.
talk about what happened on the nest that day. And then also answer questions from the chat, which we happen to have open here in front of us. So I don't know, but unless you have anything else you want to kind of lead with, we can jump into some questions.
We should jump into questions. I did see one from Miss B earlier, and it was on the lines of what Christian band was Jeff playing before the updates. And Miss B, I'm pretty sure that band was Hillsong United. The name of that band is in my bio on the website if you happen to forget it. But yeah, that's a great band, and we listen to it a lot in our family. So I saw that question and just wanted to answer it. But yeah, we're ready to take questions from the chat right now.
Yeah, also, most of the music that I play during whenever the drone footage or in the intro, that's done by our friend Peter, who's from the Life.Church worship team here in OKC. They've got a lot of stuff out there being played on the radio nationwide, worldwide. But
yeah,
he's a fan of the show. Somebody that we commission this kind of work from, and it gives us the ability to use it at will without any sort of copyright issues. But So yeah, let's take some questions from chat. So if you guys have a question, fire away. We're watching, and we will try to address every one of them expeditiously.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody says, Laura says, Alessondra, you sound grown up.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you're turning 14 here.
I am. Yeah, that is that's what day is today? What's the date? It's like the 2nd. Yeah, I'm turning 14 soon this month. So thank you. And yeah, fire truck. It'd be pretty cool for one of them to hatch on my birthday, which is around when the eggs are supposed to hatch. That'd be pretty cool.
So, Alessandra, I'm going to say as a matter of policy, we should probably read the question that we're going to answer before we answer it so that people who are listening...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're right.
Might know that, because not everybody necessarily is in chat. So,
yeah.
Who was it? Somebody asked about lighting. Where is that?
Oh, yes. I did see a question that said...
There it is, Meadow. Yeah, will we be getting constant light through the night on the late night shift? So let's talk about lighting, because that's been a big topic since season 1, and owls, and this notion that owls hate light at night, and somehow it messes with circadian rhythms. None of which we're an expert on.
Yeah.
I think most people wouldn't even know the term circadian rhythm if it wasn't for owls. At least that's the case for me.
Yeah.
So what's different about this particular nest is that this is on the balcony, where there are what are called coach lights. Coach lights are basically a fancy term for wall-mounted lights. If it's in a house, they're called sconces. If they're outside of a house, it's called a coach light. The previous nest was in an inset in the wall where there was a recessed can light directly overhead, which sort of washed the whole nest ledge with some really convenient light for the sake of our being able to watch it well overnight. So we have can lights and we have coach lights, and the lights in the house are programmed, and the can lights are programmed to stay on all night. The coach lights, not so much. And it's my hope that I can get in and reprogram those, so at least for the sake of the owl cam, they stay on 24, or not 24/7, but at least from dusk till dawn.
Yeah.
That's not as easy as it sounds. It's not a matter of just logging in, and I mean it's a little bit of an undertaking. And I programmed these things 10 years ago or 12 years ago when I built the house. Haven't done it since. So in the meantime, your mom and me are sort of taking shifts on trying to make sure that one of us hits the light button after midnight to bring them back up, because that's when they turn off.
Yeah.
So apologies if you log in, if you're a night owl yourself and you log in and the cameras are a little dark.
A question I'm seeing from Paula Price is, do you think she would take another orphan owl like she did 2 years ago? I don't doubt that she would. Most likely we won't have that opportunity again this year. I mean, you never know, but with this smaller pot, like I said, it'd be a bit confined if there was 3 owlets, but I'm guessing she wouldn't have a problem with raising another owlet if it was near the age of her current ones, like the situation was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing any complaints from her the first time.
No, she didn't say anything.
So. All right, next question. The lights are testing me. Darlene is, I think, challenging me a bit there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, tech savvy. So, the weather coming in tonight.
Yeah.
So we're like under a winter weather advisory. Extreme cold temperatures. We're supposed to maybe get 2 to 3 inches of snow. The good thing, at least, about winter weather in this nest location is that she's on the south side. Most of the winter type precipitation is going to come at us from the north. So she's going to be fairly protected from it, in stark contrast to last year where she was on the north side, extremely exposed to it. So that's going to be a good thing for winter weather. What will be interesting, though, is that most of our spring storm weather often comes from the west and from the south. So she can be a little more exposed as the temperatures rise to more things like rain and storms. So that'll make for interesting watching and observations.
A chatter asked if the room near the balcony is a bedroom. No, it is not. It's our theater room, which we, during the season, we don't use. We close it off except for the control room, which branches off from the theater room. So her nesting here doesn't really interfere with our day-to-day lives.
Cindy wants to know, why did she select this pot? Did she check other areas around the house? So there's actually more influence from Mr. Tiger than most people realize in the selection of the nest. And we know this from previous seasons. And because I also have cameras that are set up on all of the ledges and the balconies, just to kind of observe where they're exploring. So I would say that yes, there was other exploration besides the spot, but not as much as previous seasons. So that's part of why we were surprised whenever Desiree discovered the egg, just because we hadn't seen the same kind of strong evidence that we have in the past as far as nest exploration. So
yeah. Fire Truck asked Jeff if you could live anywhere apart from Oklahoma, where would it be?
I have no idea. Never even really thought about that.
Yeah, I'd probably live in Canada or somewhere that it's like really scenic. I mean, in Oklahoma, it could be pretty at some places, but it's also like, you don't have many probably like Colorado or somewhere like that. I don't know.
All of your answers sound like hockey answers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
okay,
that fits.
So TLMK says, the other morning, Mr. T and Altera had an hour-long duet. Does their hooting wake you all up, or is it more like white noise now? So we don't hear them a lot in the house.
Not
There
really.
are times when, if we listen closely, we can. But really, the nest and the ledges that they explore are away from bedrooms and where we sleep. So I would say that we hear them from time to time, but it's not like disruptive to our life.
Yeah, no. I've gotten to the point where if it is even near my room, which is upstairs as opposed to my dad's being downstairs, it does not bother me or wake me up at all. Yep.
So Darlene says, will Mr. T hunt for her before the eggs hatch? He probably won't deliver food to her. It doesn't mean he doesn't hunt. We don't really have any way of knowing whether he does. Just simply because it's really tough to spot where exactly she goes beyond her field of view when she leaves the nest. We do know that leading up to hatching, if this season is consistent with seasons past, he will deliver food to the nest in advance of hatching so that she has it basically on hand for immediate feeding whenever one does hatch. I mean, that's been pretty consistent with the past, right?
Yeah.
What next question do you want to take?
Sooner84 said, do you think this side, the nest is more private than the previous nest? I wouldn't.
I don't know how we define private in this case.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. Honestly, I don't think it's much different aside from the weather thing, because in terms of like being near the street, when you drive down our street, you can see where she's nesting now more clearly than you could see last year's. So in terms of the street, it's not much more private now.
So Meadow says, will Mr. T, oh, she's actually answering a question. It looks like not asking a question. My bad. We've got some name suggestions in there. So that's always your sort of secret to reveal
It is.
in due time, right? So if anybody has a question that we missed earlier, feel free to repost them, because we'll be happy to take those.
Definitely.
We'll go for another. We'll go till about 8 o'clock and then call it a night on that. But we'll keep the stream going after that. So one thing that I think people might not realize is that the number of eggs are often affected by it's at least it's been said that they're affected by food supply. Like, meaning that the greater the food supply, the more abundance there is out there, the more eggs. And so we have 2 eggs this year versus 3 often in the past, for Mrs. Tiger at least. And I don't know if necessarily nest size has anything to do with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clear that she is forming those eggs before she chose the nest, because she pretty much... So I don't know that nest size necessarily would suddenly just tell her body to, hey, stop producing eggs.
Yeah.
Or stop having fertilized eggs. But it's been known at least one of the larger contributors to the number of eggs has to do with food supply.
Yeah. I did see a question, what does Xavier, my little brother, think about the owls? Whenever, he kind of notices that we're watching or whatever, he'll sometimes make some little observations, or he'll just comment, oh, that's an owl. But he's gotten used to it, mainly. Have you guys thought about names for the eggs yet? Yeah, we've been throwing around some ideas. I'm not revealing anything, of course, but yeah, we've been thinking about them.
Owlet wants to know if Altera and Mr. T had squirrel for their meal. I believe we've seen that
most likely
in the
I
past.
think we have.
There have been quite a variety of different
very much so.
different foods. Fortunately, no domesticated familiar acquaintances have made their way into the nest, but we've seen quite a variety of everything from the typical rabbit and rat to various rodents to an occasional snake, a blue heron. I think a lot of people really like it when they see a crow or a blackbird, because they're known to sort of antagonize and bully owls. So it's like they finally got what's coming to them. But yeah, other than that, it's fairly typical. I think you guys will be somewhat normalized to seeing rats and rabbits being delivered on a regular basis to the nest site. So speaking of that, if you haven't hit the front page of OKCAlcam.com, left in the middle of the page below the video, we have our first graphical representation of data we're tracking. We call it TAT, or Tiger Activity Tracking. So all of the moderators, which we have a good 20 or so beloved volunteers who help work with us through the season, who help moderate chat, who help track data, who help answer questions. One of the things that they do is anytime, at least currently, Mr. Tiger comes and visits or Altera leaves, they're recording that, and that graph is a visualization of their comings and goings. And then as the season progresses and activities complicate, so does the graphing. So we'll be tracking everything from food deliveries to visits, and then what will also, I think, be very eye-opening is as the owlets hatch, they grow, then we're going to start to see Altera take longer and longer breaks away from the nest, which tends to freak people out because they don't quite understand that that's part of the process on the surface, but it is. It's part of how they sort of raise these owls and make them independent and coax them out of the nest, right?
Right.
So this visualization is going to complicate and become a lot more interesting, and I think noteworthy as the season progresses, and those graphs will change and increase in how we output them. But all that data is being tracked, and that's useful data because we do have a number of owl experts who use this site as one of their resources for studying owls, particularly in an urban environment, and their behavior and activity, because it's one of the rare chances you get to literally have, no pun intended, a bird's eye view from 18 inches away from their nest, right?
Yeah. Someone asked, how far does the mic reach?
Yeah, so I have 2 mics out there, 2 microphones, one of which is a unidirectional boom mic that is aimed right at the nest, and that's probably most important whenever the eggs are about to hatch or after they hatch, because that's the way I can really dial in. Think of it like an ultra-focused microphone. Like if you could zoom in a camera and get a really good shot of a particular spot, that's exactly what this microphone can do.
Yeah.
And so it'll be helpful for us to be able to hear. I mean, you can actually hear owlets before they hatch in the eggs, right? They peep, and you can hear noises. I've got great video from past seasons of that happening.
Yeah.
Then I also have more of an ambient stereo mic that captures all the sort of the area noise, which is helpful because when Mr. Tiger is in the area on the rooftops, or within a block away, it's a great microphone to help pick up distant sound that can help hear him and identify him and listen to them hooting back and forth, which is also something that's studied and I think fairly entertaining and somewhat soothing for a lot of the audience to hear and see. How far they can reach, I would say that I know for a fact that, I hear on a routine basis. There's a train that's 5-6 miles away that we hear almost every night, whatever, depending on what time I have the audio up. So at least 5 or 6 miles, because it's a pretty high up spot on the hill, and then the microphone's mounted up high in the house too. So.
People are asking, what's the triangular thing in the nest? There isn't anything in the nest. I think actually
there is. I know the answer to that. Well. So that is actually a brick, and the reason is because I don't want the whole thing full of water, full of dirt, because it tends to hold water when that's the case. And so the lower portion of the urn is filled with debris, most of which is brick, to help weigh it down, but also to give a good drainage, because there is irrigation in there, because we do actually plant stuff in there in the summer.
We do, yeah.
So what you see is really the corner of a gray concrete brick, which is a brick that was used in parts of the house.
Yes. I am not seeing any new questions at the moment.
So coming up, we have you and I need to determine what night's a good night for us to do a live in studio video kind of deal.
Yeah.
Right? We probably need to talk about what are some of the unique things we're going to bring to the table this season, aside from what we've done in the past, because it's kind of in our nature to try to always improve things, make things better, and evolve them. So we're always open to suggestions for that. In the meantime, if you're not already a follower on YouTube, probably the most helpful thing you can do is subscribe to the channel. But remember, you have to click the bell button to be notified whenever we go live. People do often ask, why do you guys disconnect and go live every morning again? And if I don't disconnect the stream, then YouTube doesn't have a way to cut video archives of a day.
Yeah.
So I have to kill the stream and then start fresh, so that YouTube knows sort of when the video ends, and then they can archive automatically that video. And then I like to rename the day, just so that if anybody ever wants to go back and say, oh, this one thing happened that was on day 11, sometime around noon, you can pull up the day 11 video and scroll up to that time. So
yeah, and I did just kind of realize, kind of sadly almost, my when it comes to like not being able to do Q&As because of hockey, we'll probably be able to do like the video ones a bit more, because after this weekend, the hockey season kind of ends, so we probably will be able to do more visual Q&As. So there's that little thing. Lil Al Hoot said, Alessondra, besides this one, do you watch any other Al cams? No, I don't, but I have heard a lot about other ones. Yeah. What does G think about the owls? G is Giovanna, my sister. She thinks they're pretty cool. She's really busy, so she doesn't get much time to sit down and watch them, but she still appreciates them.
Yeah, so all right, well, it is now getting to be 8 o'clock, and we've been at this for about 30 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and call it a night.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys watching. Love doing this for you guys, being a part of it. These Q&A audio updates will come at you regularly. Here we are. We're actually in what we call the control room, sort of underneath the amazing portraits painted by our beloved Mary Monson.
Yes.
Of previous owls from the season. So yeah, we have a lot of fun doing this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So be thinking of questions for our next time. Put those in your back pocket, have them ready to go, and we'll try to keep you guys ahead of the curve as to when we plan on doing this again. So if you came into this like midway, or you want to hear it again, we will be cutting this video and archiving it, so it'll be available on the YouTube channel for you guys to listen to at will. So,
of course, yeah.
Anything you want to wrap up with?
No, thank you for tuning in, and yeah, we will be doing these quite often. Like and subscribe to the channel, because yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys soon.